Morning, peeps. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy New Year as well, people. If you're one of those individuals that writes down your goals and targets for 2022, good luck. Good luck, man. I've written down my own, and we're going to attack them. We're going to try our hardest to achieve them. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget as well to like and share the vids. Thank you to everyone that continues to do it. You know what? I've not watched in full the Luis Ortiz-Charles Martin fight. I've not even watched the card. I've not watched any highlights of it. So, look, I've seen the knockdowns and I've seen the stoppage, but I do want to watch it in full before I give my own views on it. So we'll probably do that tomorrow, because it was a decent card, wasn't it? Well, it looked on paper a decent card. Again, I've not watched the fights. What I do want to do, and I've got it here, I've got it written down, what I do want to do is discuss my fights of the year for 2022, like my wish list. If I had my own way and I was the promoter of boxing, the fights I would make. Now, it's funny because I was writing these down yesterday, and I probably missed out a few. I probably have. But I was writing these down yesterday, and I was thinking, realistically, how many of these would happen? Let me quickly look at it. How many of these would happen? No. Maybe. No. Maybe. No. Yes. So I've got one guaranteed yes I think will happen. The rest are maybes, and the rest is mixed with maybes and no's. Not good, is it? Not good. But that's boxing, right? There's no point complaining about it. We know how it works right now. We did have, and I said this on the video yesterday when I was having a moan, or a couple of days ago when I was having a moan about White Fury, I did say we had a good 2021. So as much as, you know, I'm saying no, maybe, I thought it was a good year for boxing. And I think we've got a decent start to the year as well. I mean, Luis Ortiz, Charles Martin kicking us off. Unfortunately, over here in the UK, you guys have probably got the news. The British Boxing Board of Control said no boxing over here until February, and even that's a question mark. So there's nothing in January, which is disappointing, which means we don't get Eubank Williams. I mean, it was postponed, wasn't it, because of Williams' injury, and then it was set up for January now. Another postponement. That's weird. It's a weird decision, from the British Boxing Board of Control. Look, if all sports over here were kind of put behind closed doors and canned for January, then I'd get it. But nothing's happening with other sports. I think what they've said is medical staff sort of ringside. Basically, they don't want to take them from the NHS who are struggling right now because of obviously the current COVID situation. Don't know. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. And look, again, we don't know now if boxing will be back in February. It's a shame. All right, let's go through the bouts. This is in no particular order. I'm going to start with this fight that I'd love to see in the super featherweight division over here. I think it's a good division over here. I still can't tell you who is the number one in the division. I mean, if you ask Zelfa Barrett, he'll think that he's the best. I'm not sure after his recent performance. But the guys that I think are number one and number two, and look, again, this is a fight I don't think will happen, but I'd love to see it happen. Joe Cordina versus Anthony Cacace. I really, really want to see that fight. I was lucky enough to be ringside for Anthony Cacace's fight against Leon Woodstock. And look, I know some of you are going to say Leon Woodstock is British level, and he might well be British level. But you still got to fight him and perform and treat him like he is a British level fighter. And I think Anthony Cacace did it. He looked fantastic. And everyone that was ringside with me, so I was ringside with Andy Clark, Adam Catron, Spencer Oliver, and all of them were like, he needs to go. Like, he needs to go now. But I'm always a fan of you going, but let's confirm that you are the number one over here first. And I think in order to do that, he needs to fight Joe Cordina. I think Joe Cordina is a fantastic fighter. Didn't look great in his last performance, but still, his boxing ability is really, really good. He has, I think, started to sit on his punches a bit more now, so the power's there as well. And I think that's a really good fight to determine who the number one is over here. Again, Zelfa Barrett will probably say, look, he deserves an opportunity to kind of mix it in. And there are others as well. It's not just those two, but I think Joe Cordina versus Anthony Cacace is a fantastic fight, and it's one I'd love to happen. Sticking with fights over here, this fight I like as much as any fight on this list. I think the light heavyweight division over here is incredible, right? I mean, it's stacked. There's at least 6 or 7 guys that will think they're number one. And I mean, I think it's difficult to 100% say this is the number one light heavyweight in the country. Some might say Callum Johnson, who could be, right? if he knocks out Joe Smith, he's going to be a world champion. Callum Smith's looked really good in the division as well. I don't know if this is number one versus number two. I'm not saying it is. I just think this is the biggest fight that can be made at the light heavyweight division, and that's Joshua Buatsi versus Anthony Yarde. I think it's a fight that would easily do the O2 Arena. I really do. It's a fight that will get people talking. It's an exciting fight. It was spoken about a lot a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, obviously, Yarde lost to Kovalev, and then he lost to Lyndon Arthur, and Joshua Buatsi had his injuries and didn't look good when he came back from that. Now, though, with Yarde beating Lyndon Arthur and Buatsi getting that good win against Bolotniks, I think it's a great fight to make right now. I really do. And whoever wins that fight could stake the claim to be the best over here. And then you go to those world title fights. I like it. Again, is it going to happen? This is one of my no's. I don't think it will happen. But for me, it's such an exciting fight in the light heavyweight division, and I'd love to see it happen. Again, I'm not saying this is number one versus number two. I'm just saying that it's probably the biggest fight in the light heavyweight division. It's bigger than Yarde versus Callum Smith or Callum Johnson, or Buatsi versus Callum Smith or Callum Johnson for me. Anyway, I think it's a lot bigger. This one won't happen. This next one's an absolute no, but I really want it to happen. And this is in the lightweight division, and it's Vasily Lomachenko versus Gervonta Davis. I love those boxer versus puncher matchups. We love them. Two completely different styles. And I say boxer versus puncher, I think that's a bit of a discredit to both. I think Gervonta Davis can box, and I think Lomachenko can punch. I just don't think Gervonta Davis can box like Lomachenko, and Lomachenko certainly can't punch like Gervonta Davis. But look, it's a fantastic fight. It really is. A lot of people are saying, when are they going to put Gervonta Davis in with someone? I think that's a bit unfair, because you look at wins over Pedraza. I think this Isaac Cruz was pretty decent. Barrios at a higher weight class. He's fought some good guys, but he's clearly not fought anyone like Lomachenko. I personally think Lomachenko would beat Gervonta Davis. I still think Lomachenko's got so much to offer. But that's a fight I'd love to see in the lightweight division. Of all the fights that can be made in the lightweight division, this is the one. Especially now that Teo lost to Kambosos. I probably would have said Teofimo Lopez versus Gervonta, but now, after Loma's looked really good since that defeat to Teofimo, good wins against Richard Comey, especially recently, I think Loma's got more to offer, and I think this is a really good fight in the lightweight division. Again, ain't going to happen. This fight next is the one fight that I think everyone has probably listed as their fight to see in 2022. So I'm not, this isn't very radical of me saying this one, but Spence Crawford. When's it going to happen, man? This is probably the most frustrating. But this was our Pacquiao Mayweather, right? Where he's like, oh, come on, just make the fucking fight. Like, it got to that stage. In the end, when we did get Pac-Man Mayweather, don't get me wrong, both of them went on to have good careers after, but it wasn't at the time we wanted to see it. This is now getting to that stage where another 6 months, a year, it's going to be just over the hill of where we really wanted to see it. Like, if the fight was made now, next, it's a fantastic fight with two guys still in the peak of their powers. Although Spencer's coming off some injuries, both of them don't have damage from fights in the ring. So both of them still very, very live, good age. You could argue and say both relatively still at their peak. I desperately want to see it. Crawford is no longer with Top Rank, so he's available to make fights against PBC fighters. He openly criticised Bob Arum, saying, look, you couldn't get me the Spence fight, so why am I pretty much going to sign with you? So he's there, he's ready. And now, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to get it next. It looks like we are going to get Spence versus Yordenis Ugas, which is a good fight, by the way, but it's not Spence versus Crawford. It isn't. It isn't number one versus number two. It really isn't. And it's a fight I think would do good numbers. I don't know how much. I don't know what money's on the table for it, but it's a fight that I think would do anything between 350 and $500,000 pay-per-view buys. Maybe that's not enough to pay them what they both want, but we have to work something out. That fight needs to happen, and it probably is on this list. The best fight on the list, it really is. Again, because it's a 50-50 fight. It's banker number one versus number two. It's unbelievable. Both unbeaten. Come on, it's a great fight. This one, next, I think will be really good as well. This is in the middleweight division, and this is Jamal Charlo versus Jaime Munguia. Is it Jaime or Jaime? Jaime Munguia. Both of these guys unbeaten. I think Charlo's 32-0. Munguia's 38-0. I love it. I actually think both Charlos, by the way, I think their stock has dropped a lot recently. In the last sort of year and a half, 2 years, I think it's both dropped. They've both been in tough fights. Obviously, Jamal Charlo lost to Tony Harrison, got the win back. Jamal Charlo Didn't look great against, I have to bring his record up against. I know he fought Derevyanchenko, but there's the one before that. Apologies, peeps, I should know this stuff off head. What was it? It wasn't Montiel. See, I'm going way back, actually, to the Korobov fight. So I don't think he's looked good for a while, if I'm honest with you. I mean, look at the guys that he's fought up at the middleweight. So Korobov, Brandon Adams, Dennis Hogan, I know you got the stoppage there. Derevyanchenko was a tough fight. And Montiel was pretty tough as well. I feel like he needs a big performance, Jamal Charlo. And I think Munguia is a fantastic fight for him. Munguia is a come-forward fighter, very aggressive. Charlo can be aggressive as well, but likes to fight in parts for me, Charlo. It's like he'll give you a little 30-second burst here, 30-second burst there. I need to see something more. And I think this could be the fight that brings out the best in Charlo. Again, will it happen? No. So I'm just teasing you. Ain't going to happen. This one, some people might say they don't want it to happen anymore. You're lying. Of course you want it to happen. Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. It's still financially the biggest fight that can be made in boxing by some distance. By some distance as well, by the way. We were that close, or I thought we were that close anyway, to seeing it last summer. Obviously, we had the arbitration. Fury fought Wilder, put in a fantastic performance. AJ, unfortunately, went on to lose his belts against Alexander Usyk. Can it still happen? Of course it can. Of course it can. If Anthony Joshua fights Oleg... You know, the thing that might have helped AJ a lot is that he didn't get stopped by Usyk. So you can still sell it a bit, right? You can still sell it. You got your tactics wrong. You can do all those things as they all do. If Anthony Joshua fights Usyk and beats him, then it's on again. It's on again. It really is on again. Will it have the same intrigue as if the fight were to happen in the summer gone? No, but it's still a massive fight and will sell out any stadium in this country just like that. If AJ obviously gets his belts back and Tyson Fury comes through, I don't know, Dillian White, Helenius, Andy Ruiz, whoever is going to fight. But look, it's still, for me, an absolutely big fight. And it's big for the sport of boxing. Like, boxing needs an AJ versus Tyson Fury. It really does. It needs a fight that is on the front pages, not the back pages of the newspapers. This one is another heavyweight fight. And I matched these two together because I think these two could be probably the most avoided heavyweights. I don't think anyone sits around the table and thinks, I want to fight him and I want to fight him. But I think they'll both fight each other. And that's Filip Hrgović versus Joe Joyce. Brick versus brick. Again, both of these guys are going to struggle for fights. Both of them. I don't think anyone wants to fight Joe Joyce, you know. I don't think anyone picks Joe Joyce. And unfortunately for Joe Joyce and for Hrgović as well, I guess, they're not massive draws, are they? They don't bring huge amounts of money to the table. I think boxers would fight them if there was that available, like real money available. Because there isn't, it's like, why? Why risk fighting these two bricks that just seem to not... It doesn't seem like you can put a dent in them. Can they put a dent in each other? Possibly. I think that would be an absolutely fantastic fight. I said that Fury versus Joshua was the biggest fight that can be made in boxing right now. This could be the one that might be as big, maybe bigger. Canelo versus Beterbiev at 175 pounds. It's crazy, but again, I don't think this fight will happen next year. I think it could happen. I don't think it'll happen next year. I think it's likely that Canelo obviously has his fight that he's going to have at cruiserweight. And then if he does come down, he'll be looking at Dimitri Bivol, or if Joe Smith beats Callum Johnson, Joe Smith. Or maybe someone else, potentially. But I don't think it's going to be Beterbiev next. But this fight is a mega fight. This is the kind of fight where, look, you know, some people, including myself, have said, oh, yeah, but, you know, Canelo's jumping up to cruiserweight, he's fighting Makabu. Yeah, I get it, 175 pounds, but he fought Kovalev, and Kovalev's done. Beterbiev's the number one division. If Canelo was to go up there and fight Beterbiev and win, that's when you start having, you know, the kind of, okay, where does Canelo rank in the all-time great status? That's the kind of win that opens that conversation. For now, when he's had a fantastic career, I mean, he really has, he still isn't in that conversation. A win against Beterbiev, you start having that conversation. We'll see. We'll see what Canelo does. This one I like at 135 pounds. Now, one of the fighters isn't at 135 pounds yet, but I think he'll go there in the next one or two fights. I really do. Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney at lightweight. Honestly, if he was to ask me, who wins that fight right now, Shakur Stevenson. Like, I think Shakur Stevenson could jump up to 135 right now and beat Devin Haney. I really do. I think he's a special talent. I think Devin Haney is a very, very good talent that does everything correct, but he's like a 7 out of 10 for most things. I don't see no 8s and 9s, and especially some 10s there. Whereas I see a few 8s and 9s with Shakur. I think Shakur is a really fantastic fighter. And there's no doubt in my mind, Shakur will go to 135 and then will go 140. And potentially, I know I'm thinking ahead here, could go 147. He's a very, very big guy. Very big guy. Again, you see him standing next to the Terence Crawfords of the world. He's their size. He's their size. So look, that's one I really want to see. Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney at lightweight. This one, I really, really like. Again, guys, what I'm trying to do here as well is I'm trying to look for fights that are 50-50, 60-40. That's the worst. Some people might say Fury Joshua is not that, but I'm trying to look for fights like that. This one is a fantastic fight. And I think this guy is disrespected a lot. I still think he's underrated for some reason. That's what I think by some American boxing fans. Josh Taylor jumping up to 147 and taking on Boots Ennis. Sold. Take my pay-per-view money now. Love that fight. Josh Taylor, I've always said, or have been saying for the last sort of 6 to 12 months, should go to 147. You've cleaned up at 140. There's not much to do. And that's unfortunate for him because Teofimo was those talks about that. There was talk about Gervonta Davis when he jumped up to 140. He's gone back down to, I think, the best weight for him, 135. Mikey Garcia lost to Sandor Martin. So all the big fights potentially have all kind of just in the last sort of 6 months vanished. So why not jump to 147? Everyone is super high on Boots Ennis, and I get it. I've been like this before though with guys coming through. I've been the one that I always mention, Andre Berto. I was super high on Andre Berto. I remember when Andre Berto was beaten, kind of like what Boots Ennis is doing now, the C and B level guys. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is special. Once he went to an A level guy, take that back. Once he went to a fringe A level guy, at the time B level guy in Collazo, we saw what happened. So I need to see Boots Ennis in with someone before I sort of crown him as the next future king of the 147 division. Josh Taylor could be that someone. Josh Taylor at 147, I think, is going to be a big problem. Josh Taylor is a big, big guy at 140. There's nothing Josh Taylor can't do in the boxing ring. We saw him against Ramirez be the aggressor, and Josh Taylor sometimes likes to fight on the back foot. He was fantastic doing either thing. And then the way he fought on the back foot as well, that uppercut to put Ramirez down, Josh Taylor can do a bit of everything. And I love this fight. I absolutely love this fight. And I think it's one that could happen. Maybe not 2022, but sometime in 2023, I think it could happen. And I think it'll be for a world title as well. I really do. All right, moving back to the heavyweight division. How many more left? We've got 1, 2, 3 more left. Again, guys, there'll be others, but these are ones that I think I'd love to see. Heavyweight division. Andy Ruiz versus Dillian Whyte. Why not? These guys have had their little beef. They went back and forth on social media for quite a while. Andy Ruiz, desperate to get back in the mix, he's not far off it, if I'm honest with you, but former world title challenger and world champion now. He wants to go back and fight for belts. Dillian Whyte, we know himself, wants to fight for a world title. Why don't they get it on with each other? I think this will be a big fight over here. I really do. I know there are some people say it won't be a big fight in America because American fans or fight fans don't know who Dillian Whyte is. I hate when I hear stuff like that. Like CRB will no doubt make a comment on this video saying American fight fans don't know who Dillian Whyte is. They should be ashamed of not knowing who Dillian Whyte is. How can you be a fight fan and not know who Dillian Whyte is? I've heard that statement a lot. Makes no sense because we British fight fans know, we know all the American fighters. We just know. So look, I think it's a big fight wherever, but over here I think it's a really big fight. It does the Manchester Arena. It does O2 Arena easily. It does an arena easily. It's a big fight, and it's two guys that are probably, where would you have them in the rankings? 5 versus 6? 6 versus 7? Do you know what I mean? They're very, very closely matched in the rankings. I love it. This one has been rumoured for about 3 years. At the time, a lot of people gave this guy a stick because people used to say, like, he's lost his pen. Eubank Jr. versus Gennady Golovkin. Why not? Eubank Jr. needs to fight someone. It really does. I mean, there was a time when I remember Trish Dixon done an interview for BT Sports and he asked Eubank Jr. about Liam Williams. This was about a year ago. And Eubank Jr. was like, who? He's now fighting Liam Williams. What I'm trying to make is he needs to start taking the steps up now. That he really does. What is he, 32? I know he's in great shape, always keeps himself in shape. But there's an opportunity there with Gennady Golovkin. I think Gennady Golovkin was an absolutely phenomenal fighter. He's not that anymore. And it pains me to say it because I think if he was to fight any of the middleweights now, when he was 32, 33, would have broken him in half. But that's not how boxing works. He's there for the taking now. He's there. I don't know if Eubank Jr. has enough to take him, but he's there for the taking. And I like the matchup. And again, GGG, we've seen him over here before with Kell Brook. He can bring a crowd. Eubank Jr. can bring a crowd, I think. It's a big fight over here. And it's a big fight in the middleweight division as well. Let's not forget, GGG is a world champion. And I think he'll take the Eubank Jr. fight. I really do. Last one. I like this fight. This is almost like a revenge mission. Julio Cesar Martinez versus Sonny Edwards. Both of them have called each other out. This will be in the flyweight division. Sonny Edwards, world champion. Julio Cesar Martinez, a world champion. I don't mind it. I like it. I think Martinez is a crazy man. I really do. I think he's a crazy man. And he's starting to knock off the Brits, isn't he? Remember, he beat Andrew Selby. Obviously, beat Charlie Edwards. I know it was a no contest at the time, but let's be honest, he busts him up. Sonny Edwards, though, I think, a bit better than his brother. And I think he brings a few different things to the ring that his brother don't bring. That said, I think Martinez beats him, but it's a fight I would like to see. All right, I know I've missed out on a few, but again, those are my fights, or some of my fights that I'd like to see in 2022. It's a shame, again, going down the list. I mean, realistically, let's do it. Let's go down the list. How many of these do you think will happen? Josh Taylor boots Ennis. Cordina Kakachi. Nope. Boatsi Yard. Nope. Lomachenko, Javonte Davis. Nope. Spence Crawford. Maybe. Charlo Munguia. Nope. Joshua Fury. Maybe. Hrgovic Joyce. Maybe. Canelo versus Beterbiev. I don't think so. Shakur Stevenson versus Devin Haney. Maybe. Ruiz versus Dillian White. Nope. Eubank Jr. versus GGG. Depends about you. I don't know what contract. I think he's got one fight left on his DAZN contract, GGG. So he could be a free agent and go to the highest bidder, and Boxer might pay him the money. And Cesar Martinez versus Sonny Edwards. Yeah, I think that could happen. So I think we've got a couple of years there, and the rest are a bit like that. But guys, let me know what you think. What are your fights for 2022 that you want to see? Peace.